what happens in a world, I suppose, not just without empathy, but the effects of what happens to us in terms of how we connect, how we run businesses, how we maintain families, relationships, everything. What goes downhill and how, and why does this equate to $9 trillion?
Yeah, my gosh. I mean, it's a great question. It's a very big question. It's a very multifaceted question. We could just answer that for the next hour. But let me break it down a little bit. So the $9 trillion that you're talking about is the associated projected loss of income, of revenue, due to disconnection, disengagement, and presenteeism in our workplaces. So fundamentally, the reality that people are just not connected to their work. They're turning up at 9. They're going home at 5. They're doing their job, right? You can't fire them. They're doing what's on the job description, but that's all they're doing. And of course, that severely restricts our ability to innovate, to use strategy, to connect, to create, to, take any risks. So that is the associated predicted global loss, which is just under $8.9 trillion a year, which is actually equal to 9% of global GDP. So huge money. When you're looking at different regions around the world, I know the data in the Middle East for very clearly, because I do a lot of work there. For example, in Dubai alone, they lose $25 million an hour due to this lack of connection, lack of belonging in the workplace. Can you imagine? So yes, so it's really big from a workplace point of view. At the end of the day, our businesses are full of people, and if the people are not connected, they don't find any belonging. They're not feeling like they're listened to or valued. They don't perform to their most. So in the business world, we can unpack much of that. The converse is then also true, of course. When you have higher levels of empathy, we see phenomenal amounts of improvement, growth, and success in the business world, including 23% higher profits for empathetically led organizations. So if you want to go through that, we can, but there's some very solid, very provocative and convincing data that tells us why we should have it. In the wider world around us, I would say that the biggest impact of this disconnection is the impact on our loneliness. So we are living through a loneliness epidemic, so we have spent so much of the last few years recovering from the pandemic that we haven't actually been speaking much really until quite recently about the loneliness epidemic. So statistically, 52% of the world are lonely. And when you understand that loneliness is not the lack of being with people, we're always with people, right? Depending on where you live, more so or less so, but you are always surrounded by people. But to be lonely is a lack of connectivity. You can be lonely in a room full of people. And to be chronically lonely is as dangerous to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So our loneliness is quite literally killing us. You will statistically die 8 years earlier than someone who isn't lonely. So from a social point of view, there are many, many indicators. We have 400 million people with depression, 320 million people that suffer with anxiety, over 340 million people state, this is really sad, that they don't have a single friend. 340 million people who don't have a single friend. So the lack of connection is all around us. And, that obviously infiltrates all kinds of areas: life, work, family, children. The second biggest killer of our youth is no longer vehicle accidents. It's suicide. Our children are quite literally killing themselves because they can't find their place in the world.